What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another gun guide. This is the series where I go into great detail with all of the stats of every one of the weapons in Black Ops 4 multiplayer. In today's episode, we're still moving through the SMG category, and we're going to be covering the Spitfire. And first up, as always, let's have a look at the damage profile. The Spitfire has a damage profile of 27, 23, 21, 18, and what this means is it's going to be at least a 6-shot kill in core game modes, and then it will ramp all the way up to a 9-shot kill in core. And in hardcore, it doesn't actually have a 1-shot kill range unless you're hitting a headshot. It's always going to be a 2-shot kill. As for our rate of fire, this is insanely fast. It is the fastest in the game at 1,034 rounds per minute. And we don't have the option to use rapid fire, but there is kind of a super rapid fire with the Operator Mod, and we'll get into that after we cover all of the base stats. Our statistical minimum time to kill is very good up close because of the insane rate of fire at 290 milliseconds, and this is going to be beating pretty much everything. Even though this range is relatively short, it's about 9 meters, the time to kill within this range is insanely good. However, when we start getting into the longer ranges, our time to kill will drop all the way off to 464 milliseconds, which isn't even close to the slowest in the SMG category, but it is quite slow. Our time to kill potential, on the other hand, which once again, we'll talk about the Operator Mod a bit later, but this is with the Operator Mod, is 200 milliseconds at close range, which is ridiculously fast, and that will outgun basically everything in the game. And at most, assuming you're hitting all your shots, it will be 320 milliseconds, which is still extremely competitive. As for the Spitfire against armor, it doesn't do too good against armor. From 0 to 9 meters, it will take 1 extra shot to kill an armor user. However, beyond that 9 meter range, which is going to be a lot of the situations you run into, it will take you 2 extra shots to kill an armor user. As for our ranges, as you can see here, our 6-shot kill range is relatively short. You really have to be up close and personal, like within the same room as somebody to get that 6-shot kill. But then the 7-shot kill does extend all the way out to 20 meters, which should be the vast majority of your gunfights if you're treating the Spitfire right, because it does have a decent amount of recoil, which we'll see in a little bit, and therefore it's not really too competitive beyond 20 meters anyways. But from 20 meters to 25 meters, that's where it will be an 8-shot kill, and beyond 25 meters, that's where it drops off to 9 shots to kill. Keep in mind with the Spitfire, there's no option to use long barrel or suppressor. As for hardcore, like I said at the beginning of the video, the Spitfire will always be a 2-shot kill in hardcore modes. The only way you can get a 1-shot kill is from 0 to 9 meters, 1 headshot will be a kill in hardcore. Speaking of headshots, the Spitfire gets a standard headshot multiplier of 1.1, which takes our headshot damage profile to a 29, 25, 23, 19. And essentially what this means is headshots aren't worth going for. There are a couple ranges where if you hit multiple headshots mixed in with body shots, then it will reduce the number of shots it takes to kill. However, especially when you start looking at the recoil of the Spitfire, it's just not practical. So don't bother with headshots unless you're going for those headshot camos, because they just aren't going to be helping you at all. This brings us to Hipfire, and as you can see here, the Spitfire as well as the GKS have the best Hipfire spread in the SMG category, and it is quite solid. When we put Laser Sight on there, whether that be Laser Sight 1 or Laser Sight 2, this is going to be your Hipfire spread, so you can see it does tighten it up a very noticeable amount. And just like with the other guns that allow you to use both Laser Sight attachments, the base Hipfire spread is the same, but with Laser Sight 1, when you strafe back and forth, or you jump, or you move in any way, your Hipfire spread will increase. With Laser Sight 2, on the other hand, it remains consistent no matter what. For idle sway, as you can see here, the Spitfire has quite a bit of idle sway, even for an SMG. This sways around all over the place, which makes it very difficult to land that first shot at longer ranges. This brings us to recoil, and as you can see here, the Spitfire does have quite a bit of recoil. It tends to kick upwards and to the right, and then it starts to go left after that. So once you learn this pattern where it kind of fakes you out by going a little bit right, and then it kicks harder to the left, you can actually control the recoil surprisingly well with the Spitfire. Of course, I'm still not going to be trying to challenge people like across the map with this gun, but you can challenge people at a longer range than you might initially expect. This brings us to magazine capacity, and our magazine capacity is 34 rounds with 136 in reserve. Keep in mind, with the Spitfire, we actually get 1 extra magazine compared to a lot of the other guns in the game, which is nice because you will be burning through ammo quite quickly. With extended bags, we can bump this up to 50 rounds in a magazine with 200 total starting ammo, which is really nice to have, because like I said, you burn through those magazines extremely fast with this gun. Our reload add time is pretty decent. It's not the best in the SMG category by any means, but it's 1.57 seconds, which is tolerable. However, it is much better with the fast mag attachment. This is insanely fast at just 0.88 seconds. Moving on to our handling and mobility stats, our aim down sight time with the Spitfire is pretty standard for the SMGs at 250 milliseconds, and with quick draw, it doesn't do a whole lot for the Spitfire, it just reduces your aim down sight time down to 200 milliseconds. Our standard sprint out time is also 250 milliseconds, but with Gung Ho, this reduces it very significantly down to 125 milliseconds, or if you break your sprint by hitting the aim down sight button, you'll be able to fire your gun immediately. Our movement speed with the Spitfire is standard for SMGs at 100%, and our aim down sight stray speed is also standard and quite fast at 80%, although if we put the stock attachment on there, we can increase this all the way up to 90%, which is ridiculously fast and really helps when you're strafing side to side in a gunfight. So that's pretty much it for the important stats for the Spitfire, but we do have an operator mod with this, and this one is pretty crazy. This is the Wildfire Operator Mod, which increases your rate of fire quite significantly on the Spitfire. With this, our damage profile remains exactly the same, so it's still going to be 6 to 9 shot kill, but our rate of fire is bumped all the way up to 1500 rounds per minute, which is insanely fast, and you'll be able to melt people practically instantly. The statistical minimum time to kill, like I shared at the beginning of the video, is going to be 200 milliseconds at close range within that 6-shot kill range, which is going to beat out basically anything in the game. And then even when you stretch it all the way to the 9-shot kill range, it's still really competitive and fast at 320 milliseconds. Although at this point, you're probably going to have a hard time staying on target because as you can see here with the recoil, the Wildfire Operator Mod increases your recoil very significantly. And therefore, it really makes the Spitfire only viable at super close ranges when you're using this. But once you're in those close ranges, there's pretty much nothing that can touch you. I should also point out that the description for the Wildfire Operator Mod says that it slows down your movement speed while you're firing the gun. And realistically speaking, I didn't really notice too much of a difference here. It's not to the point where I can test this accurately, but it does very slightly slow you down. At that point though, you probably already finished your kill before you'd even realize that your movement speed has been slowed down. And that covers the Operator Mod. Now let's move into some of the other attachments before we get into a couple great class setups that I have for you guys with the Spitfire. For optics, generally speaking, I never run an optic on this gun. You're going to want to keep yourself really close quarters anyways, and therefore I feel like an optic is a waste of an attachment, so I never really touch optics at all on this. And as for the other attachments, the big ones that I really enjoy using with this are going to be extended mags as well as fast mags. I usually like combining these because I'm keeping myself up close and personal and constantly in the action and in the fight with this. And therefore, I want to be able to challenge multiple enemies, which is why I use extended mags. But I also want to be able to get back into the fight quickly after I burn through that magazine, which you will do very fast. And therefore, I really like using a combination of both of these attachments. Aside from that, it's really up to you and your playstyle. Sometimes I'll run quick draw just so I can snap onto targets a little bit faster. Other times I'll run laser sights and just go with a hipfire only sort of class setup. It's really up to you at that point, but I would highly recommend having at least extended mags on this gun. So finally, this brings us to a couple great example classes I have for you guys with the Spitfire. First up, we're using extended mags combined with fast mags as well as quick draw, which, like I said, I really like that extended mag and fast mag combo with this. And then quick draw just allows me to snap on a target a little bit faster to make my practical time to kill as fast as possible. For our secondary, we do have a launcher on this class, and that's mainly just because we had an extra class point available and I didn't know what else to put it on. I didn't feel like an optic was necessary, so therefore I throw a launcher on here. This will help me get through barbed wire, or I can shoot UAVs or counter UAVs down really easily with this, which is really nice. We've got Stim Shot for our gear. Our equipment is going to be Special Issue. For perks, we've got Scavenger, which is pretty much a must-have with this gun if you plan on going on any kind of a streak, because you burn through ammo super fast, even with that extra magazine that this gun gives you. We've got Gung Ho, which is pretty much a crutch for any sort of aggressive class setup because you want to be able to sprint out as fast as possible. And finally, we've got Dead Silence, which just keeps you off acoustic sensors and also makes it so you don't have to hear your own footsteps, and you'll be able to hear enemy footsteps a lot more effectively. So this is my standard sort of Spitfire class setup. It's nice and balanced for several different types of play. As long as you're keeping yourself up close and personal with this, though, you are going to be quite dominant. Now let's move on to the second class setup, and this one's more so designed around just having fun and messing around. I really enjoy playing this way sometimes. With this, we're going to be using both of the laser sight attachments, so you can see this is really going to be a hipfire class. And once again, we're using extended mags as well as fast mags on this. For our gear, once again, we've got Stim Shot so we can get back in the fight as fast as possible after taking damage. We've once again got our Special Issue equipment. Perks are going to be Scavenger so we can continue a streak if we happen to start going on one. And Gung Ho is an absolute must-have, especially with a class setup like this one where you're going to be hip-firing quite often. Unfortunately, this didn't leave us any room for Dead Silence, but I would much rather have the combination of extended mags and fast mags rather than just having dead silence on a class setup like this, because you're going to be quite loud anyways. People are going to know where you're coming from because you're going to be shooting a lot with this class setup. And with that, that's going to wrap it up for today's gun guide on the Spitfire. As always, I'd like to know in the comment section below, what are your guys' thoughts on the Spitfire? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? Do you think it's overpowered, underpowered? Let me know what you guys are thinking down below. Personally, I really like this SMG. It's one of the few SMGs that I feel is in a good place in the game in its current state. It actually dominates up close, as SMGs should, and it's not so great at those longer ranges. This is exactly how an SMG should be, and I feel like the Spitfire is in an excellent place in the game's current state. If you guys have missed any of the previous episodes of Gun Guides, I've now covered all of the assault rifles, tactical rifles, LMGs, and a few of the SMGs. I will leave a link to the playlist down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.
Yeah.